Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the City Council meeting for July 16, 2018. Please stand for invocation, followed by a Pledge of Allegiance. I believe Bobby is here to lead us. I thought I seen him. Bobby not here? Okay. Thank you, Bobby.
Dear God, we thank you for this day. God, we thank you for bringing us through dangers seen and unseen. We ask you, God, to be with this council and be with this meeting. God, be with everyone who's present. Lord, we thank you for our city. Thank you for our leaders of our city. We thank you, God, how you continue to bless us and keep us. God, help us continue to be one community. Help us all to know that we all need each other. God, be with this council as they make decisions that's hopefully and prayerfully in the best interest of our community. God, give them the wisdom they need. Give them the strength, and also give them the courage they need to make those decisions. Be with all of our first responders. God, continue to watch over them. We don't want to take for granted what they do for us in our community. Thank you for, God, all these employees that are present tonight. Be with them. We thank you, God, for all the hard work they do to try to make our community a better place to live. Be with them and watch over them. Let them know they're very much appreciated. God, be with their families and be with all the persons in our community that need help, Lord. We ask you to continue, as we always do, to ask you to bless the least, the last, and the lost. Bless those who need help. Help us to continue to provide those services needed for them also, Father God, and just help us to be what you would have us to be. We're asking all in the name of Jesus the Christ. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Bobby. Have a roll call, please.
Councilperson White.
Present.
Councilperson Yon.
Present.
Councilperson Maples.
Here.
Councilperson Hawkins.
Here.
Council President Gill.
Here.
Councilperson Owen.
Here.
Councilperson Ellis.
Here.
Councilperson Samuel.
Here.
Let the record reflect 8 council members present.
Thank you. I need approval of the minutes for proceedings of June 2nd, 2018, but I do have an addition for number 7, where Kim was presenting the establishing non-collective bargaining salary wage administration, the removal of the caps where it's under the summary. If you look down where it says these recommendations are, that was left out, so that will be in addition to the minutes. So if you all would approve the minutes with that addition, I'd appreciate that.
So moved.
I got a first. Do I have a second?
Second.
I got a first and a second to approve the minutes with the addition of that on number 7, the removal of the caps.
That's just the only thing that needs to be removed.
No, it needs to be added. I'm sorry. It needs to be added. Right after where it says the recommendations are, that was basically, it was listed
That was
in the
the only
summary.
thing that was left out. Okay.
Yes.
Sorry.
So do you have a
They are on the
for me to sign?
For you to sign.
Sign.
Okay.
So I got a motion and a second. Is there any further comment or questions on the minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion is approved. We got approval of the agenda, but I will need to, with the approval, we do need a table number 12 under new business. The applicant asked to be heard at our next meeting. They want some more time to meet with the administration, and I told them that'd be fine. So I do need approval of the agenda with tabling number 12 under new business, please.
Did we table that one before?
Yes.
Well, they actually wanted to be on this meeting, but it was inadvertently put on the last meeting by mistake.
Has it been heard by planning and zoning?
Yes.
Don't they have to be heard immediately after?
No.
No? Okay.
They have, 90 days?
Is it not? Okay. I thought it was the
Motion to
next
approve
one.
with changes.
Second?
Got a motion and a second to approve the agenda with tabling number 12 under new business. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Got claims. General first, and I do have a couple that I'm going to pull. Do you want me just to go through, because we will be changing the...
If you want to, or I can, either way.
I'll go through, so I got my notes here. On page 2, well, Well, actually, let's start with page 1, so it'll be easier for on page 1, under the police social media boot camp, it's in the Chase credit card and their training, the $595. We do need an agenda for that.
Okay.
And then under the U of L Southern Police, the enrollment, that $1,700, we do need a signature on that PO.
Yep.
Did you get that? I
Yes.
think you already got that. Okay, on page 2, all the way down at the bottom, we're going to pull that from Chase credit card at $360 because we don't have the receipts back for that.
That's on next month's card,
Okay,
yes,
good.
or bill.
There's nothing on 3, 4. On page 6, we're going to, the same reason that we're pulling where it says the hotel for HSRM meeting, the Chase credit card for $179. That doesn't have the receipts, but we'll have that all for next month. And then on page 7, did we get we didn't have a PO for the $138,220 for the claw truck?
Yes,
Did we
have
get that?
now. Yes.
All right, and so we just need the adjusted amount with pulling the 360 and the 179, please.
$704,089.14.
Council have any other questions for Heather? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the claims of $704,089.14.
Second.
Got a motion and a second approval of the claims be adjusted, the total amount now is $704,089.14. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. And the parks claims, Heather, I just need to make sure on page 4 that we've got the signed contract for the Melody Resurrection, an amount of $500, that contract.
It will be signed on Monday at the Parks meeting.
Okay, and then on page 3, the tons of fund for $275, we need a signed contract for that.
Yes, that's signed on Monday.
Okay, and then there's the House of Boom, which is on the credit card. We need a detailed receipt. That's on page 3. We didn't.
How much was that again?
That was for $21.
Here, yes. Okay.
And with that, the total amount is fine, so.
Yeah, $119,029.21.
Make a motion to approve the parks claims of $119,029.21.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve parks of $119,029.21. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Thank you. Report of the clerk.
I have two things, Madam President. The first thing is, I would like to thank all the employees sitting here for everything you all do, especially the sanitation workers and our drainage workers. You all are out there in the heat, and I just want you to know that as a person that pays taxes and a citizen of Jeff, I appreciate all you all do for me, and I appreciate that. The second thing is, I give you an update. Last Wednesday at BPW on July the 11th, the contract, or the proposal was signed with System Max for the updates. On July 3rd, I had sent an email to the IT, and I've yet to hear a response back to them for the upgrade on the, I sent the specs to them for the upgrade on our iPad, and also I have spoken to get the two new TV sets that'll also be upgraded to the system, but I'm still waiting on a response, so in order to order the laptop.
I appreciate all your work on that. I really do. It's something that's been needing to be done for a while. Okay, so we'll move on to old business, which we have Kim Calabro, 2018 OR 39, ordinance to establish non-collective bargaining salary range, administration with police repealing prior policy. Kim, has there been any changes this past on first and second?
No, there has not.
Okay. Council, do you have any questions? And I do want to make sure that you all are aware with passing this. These are the main things that we'll have to adjust for our budget time, so it goes in effect in 2019. So does council have any questions?
Motion to approve 2018 OR 39 for
Second.
final.
I got a motion and a second to pass 2018 OR 39. Is there any further discussion, question, or comment? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kim, thank you so much again.
You're welcome. Thank you all.
Heather, we have 2018 OR 40, an ordinance transferring certain funds from the same department. This did pass on first and second. Has there been any changes?
No.
Then I will entertain for a third and final motion.
If there's anybody that came for that last ordinance that wants to go, you don't have to stay for the whole thing.
That was your
As much
pass.
fun as we're
That was
gonna
your
have.
pass.
As much fun as we're going to have. But
No, the
Anything
changes.
changed?
No.
Okay.
I'll
Then
make, sorry.
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve 2018 OR 41 on the third and final.
40?
I'm sorry, OR 40, not 41.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to pass 2018 OR 40 on the third and final reading. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Heather, you're still up. 2018 OR 41, an ordinance for additional appropriation. Has there been any changes?
No.
Okay. So I will, this time, since there has been no changes, I'm going to go ahead and open up the public hearing. So I'm officially opening up the public hearing for the addition of the, what was it, 30,000. This is for the park's contractual service, is actually to clear out the underbrush and invasive species up at Bissing Park. Is there anybody here wish to speak for or against? Seeing none, I'm going to officially close public hearing, and I'll entertain a third and final motion.
I'll now make a motion to approve 2018 OR 41 on the third and final.
Second.
I got a motion and a second to pass 2018 OR 41 and third and final. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Moving on to new business, which we tabled number 12. We'll move right on to 13, which is Les Merkley, an ordinance amending 2010 OR 30, an ordinance regulating the maintenance of existing buildings and property in the city of Jeff to address planting, containment, and removal of bamboo.
Bamboo, yes.
Bamboo.
We currently have some issues in the city regarding the planting and the growing of bamboo. And I'm sure if everyone's familiar with how bamboo spreads, but it spreads very quickly and grows at a very high rate. We currently have an ordinance in place that we, up until this time, thought would adequately address the issue, but after more review of that ordinance, we believe we probably need to tighten that up. Currently on the books is 2010 OR 30, which deals with noxious plants and growth and so forth, and we feel that this amendment, adding this section to that ordinance, will specifically prohibit the planting of bamboo and also outline the procedures for containment and removal in the event that there is an issue or a problem. So this comes to you at the request of our code enforcement department. They're hopeful this will allow them to adequately address this issue that we're currently dealing with. And I know this is unusual, but we would like to, we have some pending issues regarding bamboo. If we could possibly, the council could entertain suspending the rules and adopting this on all three readings, I know code enforcement would be greatly appreciative of this.
What would the ordinance number be?
42.
So,
We can do a motion and all that discussion first. Do
Yeah,
discussion.
but we need to motion to suspend the rules first.
I'll make that motion to suspend the rules in anticipation of passing on all three readings.
Second that.
Got a motion and a second to suspend the rules in 2018 OR 42 with anticipation of passing in all three readings. Is there any discussion or comment? And seeing, oh, did you?
Where does this happen?
I've heard more about bamboo in the last 60 days.
Yeah, we're talking with Larry, it's citywide. I mean, it's,
What happens is they sell it
At Home Depot.
Home Depot,
Or
and
wherever.
it's, people think it's neat and it's nice, and you plant this bamboo, and the next thing you know, it's not only just overtakes your yard, but the problem we have, it now encroaches and spreads on your neighbor's yard, and we have a neighbor complaining, and it's,
We have one instance of a whole city block that is infected with this bamboo. And
There's a lot of bamboo right by the...
And I did research,
Forest over there.
it's fairly common for cities and towns to adopt such an ordinance to deal with bamboo.
That's not cleaned up
Actually-
all one weekend on one of my properties.
where is it? Is it New Jersey? There's a state that actually requires anybody that sells bamboo to hand out information pamphlets on how terrible it can be if you plant it in the ground.
I
I can't remember if it's New Jersey or where it is, but
I really was, the extent of my knowledge of bamboo came from Gilligan's Island, so,
So does,
Oh, sorry.
Well, I liked it.
if I am a property owner and my neighbor plants bamboo in their yard and it spreads over to my yard, what legal ground do I have?
well, I mean, short outside this ordinance, you would have to commence a lawsuit, a civil suit against your neighbor, and have to hire a lawyer and go through the court system and so forth. Obviously, this ordinance gives that property owner, that homeowner, another avenue they would call code enforcement, and then the city would cite them under this ordinance.
You think we could add pulp to that? Because I got pulp from my neighbor's yard spreading all over mine.
And then this,
And this is kind of our position as well. If somebody wants to plant bamboo, you can plant it. There's just certain ways you need to plant it to contain it. And if you want to plant it, that's fine, but you just need to take the steps to contain it. People just think they can plant it just like a rose bush. And here, the problem is to remove bamboo. It's just not a question of just digging it up. I mean, you have to excavate down quite a distance, because it's...
but this ordinance, like if I wanted to properly plant bamboo, I would not be allowed to under this ordinance because this prohibits it entirely, correct?
No, if you plant it and contain it,
it's okay.
it's okay.
You have to continue.
We're not out, yeah, we're not out to, the problem is nobody
Showing.
is taking those steps, and
Pretty sure we've cleaned up dry cleaners from the 50s easier than this bamboo.
It just says, when I'm reading it, it says no owner or tenant, occupant of a property.
well, if you go to B, it says you have a duty to confine. You have a duty to confine.
But the first one says that it is, that you shall not. No owner shall plant, install, or cause or permit the planting or installation of plant species known as running bamboo upon any property located with the city of Jeff. So doesn't the first part say you can't at all?
Yeah, then B says that if you currently do have bamboo, you have a duty to confine it.
So it would be, so this would affect all existing people with bamboo in their yards. They would be required to contain it, and then no new planting of
Yes.
bamboo.
Yes.
Okay,
Just wanted to
so
clarify. What-
But if I have, I mean, we're not in the discussion yet.
Oh, yeah, I think we still are suspending the rules, right?
Yeah.
That's currently the motion on the floor.
Which has to be unanimous.
right, so all those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. The rules are suspended, and we can pass on all three readings. So now I will entertain a motion to pass on all three readings.
I would tell you, it's not the intent of code enforcement to, we're not going to be searching for bamboo. The only reason we're going to know about bamboo is if you didn't confine it and it spread to a neighbor's property. We're not out looking for bamboo.
I'll make a motion to approve 2018 OR 42.
Do I have a second? Second. Got a motion and a second to pass 2018 OR 42 on all three readings. Is there any further discussion?
I have a question. As far as the duty to confine, if I have bamboo now and it's gone over into my neighbor's yard, when this passes, then it's my responsibility to clean it out of my neighbor's yard
Yes, or we will clean it, and
and charge me. Okay, thank you.
it's not, I mean, it's our feeling, it shouldn't be, if I'm your neighbor and you plant bamboo and it spreads on my property, it should not be, I shouldn't have to incur the expense and the cost and the effort to remove it because I didn't.
Yes.
But, so, I mean, I would support it. I wish the language were still permitting new planting of bamboo to be in place if you are responsible and have confined it. But under this language, it sounds like if you have already existing planted bamboo, then you have to confine it, and you cannot plant any new bamboo. So I still feel like people should be able to plant what they want without infringing on other people's property. And so that would be my favorite language, and so I won't be supporting this for how it's currently verbed, unless I'm understanding it incorrectly, lawyers.
Lawyers.
Now,
Attorneys.
our current interpretation of up to this point, our interpretation of 2010 OR 30 is no bamboo.
And I probably wouldn't support that either.
Yeah. So our position has been, even without this
I
amendment,
completely
we
understand
have
it
prohibited.
getting in other people's yards and it being a problem, and I mean, I think that you should have the ability to protect your property and not have to pay for all that. I just feel like if someone is going to be responsible with the planting of bamboo and they take that burden upon themselves, then they should be allowed to do it.
But they aren't currently allowed to do it at all. If it's there illegally already.
We're enforcing it, it's just, I think there's going to be, I'm not going to speak in the public
okay.
meeting as to
That's okay.
pending matters before our judicial system.
Someone that cleaned it up for a whole weekend, I support how it reads as it is.
Yeah. Okay, so all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
62.
Yep. Okay, I put this discussion
Got stock
on
in
it, 2007 OR 50 on legal fireworks ordinance. I can't speak for other council, that I do know that I can't go outside at my house or my daughter's house in North Haven, between text, emails, phone calls on the fireworks ordinance, and a lot of the complaints is, going past hours at night, not respecting, when they have to get up and go to work. That's been a repeated one. And then also the time, that why do we have it that from June 29th to, July 9th? Because currently it says, just so the public is aware, legal fireworks may be discharged within the city of Jeffersonville between the hours of 5 p.m. and 2 hours after sunset on June 29th, June 30th, July 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, or July 3rd, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th between the hours of 10 a.m. and 12 midnight on July 4th, and between the hours of 10 a.m. on December 31st and 1 a.m. on January 1st. The event Thunder over Louisville is exempt from this ordinance, and also the Jeffersonville Board of Works and Safety may also grant the use of legal fireworks at special events. Now, I did consult with the Assistant Chief McBoy, and I was actually tonight, Ange gave me a report. They had this year 29 firework complaint calls. And I did ask him, what is the number one issue that face the police on their calls? And they said they get called, what they really respond to is if a person is under the influence of alcohol or whatever, and they're setting them off, or they're not safely setting them off, that there's children around and all that. That's their focus as far as law enforcement. He did request, however, that a lot of the pushback and arguments that they get when they do respond from the calls is that our ordinance says after sunset. He would like for us to consider putting a time on there, whether it's 9:30, 9 o'clock, or whatever, because he says the officers will get pushback as to what time sunset is. He says, so basically they'll say, it's 9:30, it's 10 o'clock, it's 9. So that makes it hard for the officer to make that call, of course. And as you all know, it is the responsibility of an officer to respond, and it's their discretion what they enforce and what they don't enforce. But I wanted to open this up, as you all know. This is the only way we can discuss this. So I wanted to see, I didn't know if any other council people were getting complaints, what your thoughts were. I do believe somebody did sign up to speak on this particular agenda item. So, you want me to come up? Yes, please come up and state your name and your address for the record. And she gets, what, 3 minutes?
Oh, 3 minutes. Okay, I'll read fast. I'm Gail Parrish. I live at 1233 Ridgeway Drive in North Haven, Jeff, Indiana. Okay. All right, here are the facts. The Indiana State Department of Health for 2017. There were 238 fireworks-related injuries in Indiana, more than one-third of which involved children 18 or younger. 94 cases on July the 4th, 2017 alone. 10% were hospitalized, many with eye injuries. 61.3% were on private property. These are just the facts, but what brings me here today is my own, my family's, my neighbors' right to peace and quiet in their own homes. They and I have been losing sleep from random booming fireworks blasting at all hours of day and night, long before and far after July the 4th. Losing sleep and living on the edge for weeks. Pets and people are shell-shocked from the war zone atmosphere we've been living in. What can you, our council, our representatives, do to help not only our neighborhood of North Haven, but the city of Jeff? What will you do? This is a widespread problem in the city, county, and in the state of Indiana. July 4th is bad enough with the size of fireworks people are setting off all day and late into the night, much later and earlier than the law allows. These are not simple firecrackers, spinners, and kid sparklers. These are mortars, rockets, rattling windows, and disturbing the peace at all hours for weeks on end from blocks away from the original source. But it's not just the 4th. It's for weeks before and after, and you can't even prepare yourself. You never know when people are going to decide to set these huge pyrotechnics off. I have family members who suffer from anxiety and noise sensitivity, not to mention our pets and the children in town, who cannot escape the constant stress this causes them. It's a serious matter. It literally affects health. There are all kinds of people in our neighborhood with all kinds of work schedules, all kinds of family. Our city government said it supports big businesses in towns like Amazon and FedEx. But what about their employees, ourselves, our neighbors, who work unusual schedules, who work very late or very early? Our household starts at 4:30 a.m. Fireworks go off until 11 p.m. and later. Then we are the ones who have to call the police and ask that the ordinance be enforced so we can get some sleep and have some peace in our own homes. Sometimes we told something contrary to, well, okay, where would I go to get away from all this? Are those people being so inconsiderate for the neighborhood going to pay for it? No, they're not going to pay for it. Common fireworks courtesy. It's in a heavily populated neighborhood with children and pets. This is noise pollution. I'm asking the council to find a way to amend and enforce this ordinance and stop this intense noise pollution from stealing our rest, frightening our children and pets, and disturbing people and animals for weeks on end. I want some control over what is and isn't allowed to be shot off in the middle of the city of Jeff. I want some peace. Thank you.
Good job. Madam President, real quick for the council. Our office was inundated with phone calls from people wanting us to email. Some of them even came in and picked up the ordinances. One was a nurse in particular that was getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning to get to work, and she says they were shooting off, and we even had somebody with PTSD call us and said that, it was reactivating their PTSD, so.
I know one of the common things that I heard repeatedly was back when, this is 2007, and Gail did hit on it, the fireworks have changed significant. And now the loud boom, and I can attest, my windows do rattle when some of the stuff goes off, but I was just curious to see the thoughts from the other council. Have you been getting complaints?
I have a question for legal.
Okay.
I've gotten complaints like everybody else, I assume I've gotten several. What constitutes a firework? Has that been decided?
Device that goes boom.
So anything, is a firecracker the same classification as a basically stick of dynamite and shoot in the air?
No, stick it down like that.
It's my understanding that if they can sell it, then you can let it off.
Correct.
Okay. So really what we are looking at, unless somebody can tell me, is shortening the time window and the date window. Because if you can buy it, you can shoot it. That's what the law is, and we can't supersede it. Okay.
That's
All right.
right.
Well, I just wanted to make sure the parameters of our conversation, I was understanding them right, so.
I would ask, it's an unfair question, but I would ask our council, is this something that because it's legal from a state perspective that we're fortunate that no one has challenged the constitutionality of our limitations of it?
Well, so in theory, you all have the ability to limit state statutes and not expand them. So in some respects, the argument would be that you're not impeding on the legality of what the state said. You can fire off fireworks and you can sell them. What you all are doing is creating a narrower way to allow a legal thing to happen. Now, do I think that it be subject to some kind of challenge if there's a belief that you're interfering with interstate commerce or all those fancy constitutional arguments that smart lawyers make?
Like us, not like us.
Like us. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things that I've seen the biggest amount of people that are hurt, and especially children, is from sparklers. So is this ordinance going to have an effect upon people allowing their children to use sparklers, because they would still fit the definition of a firework?
So the interesting thing is there's a class of things like sparklers, smoke bombs, and all that. They were already legal, so that whole statute that created the ability to sell the fireworks makes it different. So your fireworks are not truly sparklers and smoke bombs, poppers, and those things. So no, you're not.
So those things wouldn't be included.
No, they are not they're called Class A, and the incendiary explosives.
When I'm looking at this, the date range is what strikes me as being long. And so if we're going to take a look at doing something about this, I believe the reason why they made the date range the way they did is that way no matter where July 4th falls, you have a weekend.
Yeah, I
So I would like to see this window closed. I've gotten a lot of calls from people and just friends who call and say they have a problem with it. What about saying July the 4th and then the weekend, and then somehow fostering language to make it be the Saturday or whatever we decide, and not all those days in between. And then that will make that'll close the window to a certain degree. And then also time, I agree, I think there should be a hard time on it, not this, because then if somebody does violate it, no one's going to, it's going to be difficult on enforcement. So that's what I would propose to do if we were to move forward on something.
I can pull out my phone and tell you what time sunset is. Because we have that, there's a legal definition of what sunset is for every day. Today it's at 9:04.
Yeah, but which Officer Moreland can agree back there when they're being called to the scene and being argued.
Well, I'm sure Officer Moreland has had many experiences where he's been argued what the law is from people that he's talking to.
But our noise ordinance says 10, I believe, during the week.
Yeah.
And it's midnight on the weekends, so.
I think the issue is that this is just going to always be difficult to enforce.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be one of those offenses where someone will do it, and then a neighbor will call, in order to address it after the fact. As much as I hate to admit it, I think, and I'm not saying that I don't support narrowing the days or having a set time, but I think regardless of what we do here today, I worry that it's still going to continue to be a problem just because people will do what they want to do until someone calls, right? Which is frustrating. I instead of limiting it to just a weekend, potentially saying 3 days before and 3 days after, which encompasses an entire week,
Yeah,
so that a weekend would always be included.
If your 4th of July was on a Tuesday, you wouldn't have the opportunity to shoot them off on that Saturday.
It would be the weekend before, which is, I mean, I don't know, typically when weekends are decided,
I don't know what I would support if we changed something, but if there was a change made, I would encourage that we include maybe the weekend before the 4th and the weekend after. Because you have people, I mean, there are people that work shift work who won't have off, one of the 2 weekends. That way that whenever their family decides to celebrate, they can do so within the confines
but what
of
about families that
city
have
ordinance.
parents or whoever that works just weekends, and then they have no options
Sure.
to celebrate, right? I mean, I think we're just narrowing the scope. And again, I mean, those people, maybe they'll just celebrate whenever because they don't realize that the law is what it is and it's just going to happen. I don't know.
It's like the seatbelt law. I mean, you should wear your seatbelt in your vehicle because it's safe to do so. But if you get pulled over, well, yes, officer, I had my seatbelt on. I took it off to get my wallet out. If somebody shows up and says, "Have you been, setting off fireworks?" Oh no, those are from 2 hours ago, right after sunset.
Well, I'm old enough to remember when fireworks were totally illegal in Jeffersonville, and they still shot them whenever they wanted to, and the police were still at times called to come out and the situation, and once the police leave, they go back to shooting them again. So I don't know what type of ordinance that we can pass is that's going to make that great a difference other than putting a burden on our local law enforcement.
It's not that I don't sympathize because I work 24-hour shifts on an ambulance and sometimes get no sleep, and today was one of those days where I slept in this morning because we got no sleep last night, and all the noise of everything going on contributes to not being able to sleep when you have an opportunity. I understand that that's burdensome. I just don't know that we can do something effective to eliminate any obstacle of peace.
I think it's just basically, and if I'm summarizing wrong, then sorry about that, but I think what we're being asked to do is to be reasonable. No matter what we do, we know they're going to do whatever. Just we have stop signs out there and people repeatedly run the stop signs. I think the ones that do have these neighbors that excessively do it without the respect and do it all hours of the night, which I have some of those neighbors, sorry to say. I think the people that work hard and have been contacting me at least would say, please give us something that we can, that if it is an excessive problem or whatever, something that we can stand on, something to give us, the peace of mind, which I don't think that's too much to ask for. And if the police department wants us to put a time in there for sunset.
So what would be included in that ordinance that isn't already in this ordinance for giving peace of mind to residents?
Well, instead of saying after sunset, to put a time in there, so make that clear, and I'll be fine with whatever you define as the time for sunset. And I did like Councilperson Hawkins, where he said, let's say and include both the weekends or whatever you shorten it. I think if we shorten it, the time frame where it's so broad and wide open, I think that would make quite a few that she's shaking her head, but I know a lot of the complaints that I've received, that's what they said. Please just shorten the times. So
it seems like that if we would make it 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
The start, that's sunset, then they have 2 hours. And maybe we just need to say none after 11 to make it simpler. Stop at 11 and then shorten it. Then we've heard our constituents, their plight, but we all acknowledge that it's still going to happen. Mm-hmm. And the police, you know, their hands are still tied because exactly what was said. But that's two things we could do that makes it simpler and clearer and shorten it from weekend to, you know, the Saturday to Saturday with the July 4th in the middle. I mean, that addresses some, but it won't solve the problem.
What I would say to that, I like what you're referencing in terms of limiting the days better as opposed to just saying this weekend and this weekend, because I do feel like there are many families that might work weekends or might not have an opportunity to celebrate on a weekend, and I want to make sure that they can participate as well. So if it were just a time frame of Saturday to the following Sunday or whatever.
I would agree with that. It's, if you think like next year, 4th of July will be on a Tuesday, so a lot of holidays will be considered Monday and Tuesday, and if you say we can just do it on the 4th and on the weekend, well, everybody's going to shoot fireworks off on July 3rd.
On Monday, because they're off on Tuesday.
Right. So the
Yeah.
caution,
That's a good point.
limiting that.
And also, if they shoot them off New Year's Eve, if we say 11 o'clock, I mean, that's way after the sun goes down on New Year's Eve. So people are still up.
Well, we can still leave
We
that.
can address that separately
Yeah,
if
well,
we
we could,
choose.
we could still leave that language in for the December 31st to January 1, and I definitely want to keep the Thunder over Louisville, except, and I also
That's
do
in
like,
Louisville anyway.
well, the language for somebody can come in for a special event and let that be up to the Board of Public Works to decide, because it may have, Shims may have another big birthday bash and want to do, or, you know.
So what I'm hearing is a hard separation between the hours of 5 and 11 instead of saying 2 hours after 9.
Yeah.
5 and 11. And then between the ranges of the Saturday prior to the 4th of July and the Saturday after the 4th of, or the Sunday after the 4th of July,
No, don't.
to encompass those 2 weekends.
Yep.
Vicki, I'm sorry I cut you off. What were
Oh,
you
that's
saying?
okay. What I was going to say is if you put a time in there and if you have like specific dates like you're talking about, anything after 11 o'clock, if the police get called, they can write a citation for an ordinance violation. And once those start being written, people are going to become more cognizant to that
I
they
think
should be.
more than anything, it's an information thing, you know, and I think that, I know the city had put it out on social media, but I think that the more that there's awareness and information about the fact that there are, different regulations for fireworks at all, because there's a whole slew of people that have no idea that there's even these.
The majority don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, the thing is too, you may have, the police may be called out to the same house 3 days in a row and there's nothing they can do. Where,
So can I make a suggestion?
Yes, you can.
Why don't you put this on for the next meeting and let me read the new statute, Indiana Code 2211-14-6, titled Violations, Offenses, Time and Dates of Allowable Usage of Consumer Fireworks.
Oh, there you go.
That's the constitutional precedent. Yeah, there's actually, so 6 years, 7 years, 8 years after this was adopted, the state legislature enacted an ordinance, so it's got some language in here. Now, I'm not going to tell you that the answer is going to be you can't narrow the scope of the language.
But we can't go outside
It
of it.
actually makes it a crime to discharge fireworks after certain times.
So what does that say? What does this
11.
statute say?
11. And then they put some language in there about New Year's Eve and holidays and things, but it's kind of what you all been talking about. But, well,
Look at that.
Yeah, this was just on for discussion.
yeah, no, so if
So
you
when do
all
we
like.
just call the state?
I'll,
Can you present that at the next?
Yeah.
Let the state
Wonderful.
police enforce it.
Kind of using the state statute.
All right.
Council, Mr. Wilder, when you get it done, if you'll email it to me, I'll make sure it gets out.
You're killing.
And I just.
Does the administration have a position on fireworks? Mr. Merkley?
2211-14.
No,
Does the administration have a position on this issue?
Not that he's
It
a-
only concerns
We got the bamboo taken care of.
So let's ask.
Come on.
Is what happens if fireworks ignite the bamboo.
I just want to add that Gail, I appreciate you
If I
coming
use
to the
fireworks
council
in
meeting and
Portugal.
speaking on this issue. That's something that most constituents wouldn't have felt compelled to do, and I applaud you for that. Thank you for bringing it to our attention. Hopefully, we'll have an answer for you
Come back
at
next
our
meeting.
our next meeting.
All right, so we'll go, thank you, Gail. We'll move on then, and Larry will let you research that, and we'll have something for our next meeting. But I appreciate the discussion on that. So moving on, we'll move on to number 15. Heather, we got an ordinance transferring certain funds within the same department, prior policy.
These are kind of
Be ordinance number
self-explanatory.
43.
I think that you received an email regarding the fire overtime. I think that there might be something coming up later on in the year about that also, but this is transfers that he can do within his budget right now.
Okay.
Next one is for professional services for green space. And
Do we
then
have any idea what that is?
I don't remember. Do you remember what that was for? 28,000 for green space?
That is, so I think what we were talking about,
Oh, Paul's here.
Oh, go ahead, Paul. That way I don't have to think too hard.
So we have a fund, that is listed for purchase of new trees. We put $40,000 in there this year. We took $10,000 out to help pay for our new Parks Assistant Director, so that left about $30,000 in there. When we created that fund, we didn't create a fund for removing the dead trees. So we've got, I'm sorry?
Yes.
Yeah. So we have a fund for buying new trees, and now we're creating a fund for getting rid of the bad trees. But we have so many bad trees now that we're moving all 30,000 over to take care of the bad trees this year, and we're going to look at purchasing new trees next year.
The authority recommended that we try to move money around rather than asking for more additional appropriations, and that's what this has resulted in.
I appreciate that, thank you. Thank you, Paul, I appreciate it.
Sure.
Okay, the mayor's travel mileage is going to,
Yes, both of the next two are going to other supplies.
Motion to approve 2018 OR 43 on the first and second.
got a motion and a second to pass 2018 OR 43 on the first and second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Heather, we got an ordinance of additional appropriation, and we'll have the public hearing on August 6, 2018.
I believe the first two are for, well, the first one is for workers' comp, which I believe Ms. Conlon discussed. I don't know if she sent out an email to the full council on that for an increase.
Yes, she did.
Okay.
But to refresh you all, what happened is our workers' comp were short in that budget line item. We budgeted, but not enough. We had that audit, which was pretty good size. Plus, the other thing is that each time a new employee is hired, our workers' comp increases. So we're going to be $46,000 short. And I've already spoken with Jerry Rock, and he's running some numbers for us to kind of put us back into.
Is that for the year, or do we anticipate more being needed?
This should take care of it.
Okay.
And then the second one is for $40,000 for equipment for the clerk.
Yeah, and she spoke of that during her report.
The third one there is for parks contractual services, which is the balance that was from the $30,000 for the invasive species that we discussed at the last meeting. And then the last two are for the telephone audit that I sent out an email regarding that on Friday.
Yeah, I read that email. I guess I'm a little confused. We're going to be saving money in the long run.
Yes.
So can't we eat that in the cost, or you still need the $50,649 and the $5,000 or the $527.13? I don't see, why do we still need that when we're going to be saving money? We can't eat that?
Yes and no. The problem is that they want all their payment now, and we will have that savings within the next 7 months. So I don't have 7 months worth of budget left in that line item. And then also, because we were out of contract for a couple of months, that bill increased quite a lot, which I think you mentioned at a couple of council meetings why the telephone bill was so expensive for that month.
Yeah.
So that's why there was more charges than what is normal in that account, and I don't have 7 months left to of the year of that savings.
So they're wanting the payment now?
Yes.
But if we do put the payment in there now and we do get can we encumber?
We will have the
that?
savings forever, yes.
And any money that's left over, we can encumber for next year?
Yes. Well, not encumber, but we wouldn't spend it.
Well,
Yes.
Have a better idea of what we need to budget for next year after we see the
Yes.
savings.
yes.
Because it's with AT&T, they take a few months to get in line. So even if you're looking at the bills for this month, it's still not there yet, but it is in the works of getting there.
Okay, I appreciate that.
And I did negotiate them. Normally, they charge 12-month savings, and so we've negotiated down to 7.
Thank you.
So this number could be much higher.
We will have a public hearing on August 6, 2018 on this, but Council, do you have any further questions for Heather on this additional appropriation, which is number 44?
Well, you know my feelings on additional appropriations, but I've talked with the clerk and I understand the need on some of these that has to be done. So I will vote to approve this time.
Okay, then I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve 2018 OR 44 on the first and second.
There you go.
Got a motion and a second to pass 2018 OR 44 in the first and second. Any further comment? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you, Heather. I already talked to Paul. He was the only department head here. I don't think there's any other department heads that need to speak. Paul, you don't have anything? You sure?
I'll tell you what I do want to say.
Okay.
Just briefly about the fireworks, since you were talking about it. The debris in the parks is amazing after 4th of July and after that weekend. We're constantly picking up debris from fireworks. So I don't know if that's something that can be done, but just my 2 cents worth.
All right, I appreciate that.
Definitely say no fireworks in public parks.
Did you hear that, Paul? Our attorney said we definitely can say no fireworks in the city parks.
Regardless of what
Is that in there?
we can do that.
We can do that. So is that what you're recommending as Parks Director?
I am, yes.
Okay. Do you have anything else, a City Council Attorney report? Okay. And do we have any other public comments other than that? Okay, then we will move on to council comments, and we will start with Councilperson White. Councilperson Young.
I have 2 things. The first thing is Keely Stindl with the Homeless Coalition of Southern Indiana had emailed Lisa and I about giving an annual update. So I wanted to, while I have the clerk in the room, formally ask if she can be added to the next agenda. Just again, it's the Homeless Coalition of Southern Indiana for their annual update. Keely. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll put her on, but if she has any PowerPoints or anything, tell her to make sure she PDFs.
I'll make sure she knows. My second is that we will be offering our second workshop open to city employees, again in the initiative to offer more professional development opportunities for our city employees. And we do those, I do those at cost for the cost of printing the manuals and things from Dale Carnegie, my other job. The next one will be July 25th from 1 to 3 p.m. at the Ken Ellis Center, and it's on stress management techniques. That topic was selected based on feedback from city employees and what they wanted to hear. So we have some stressed out employees, folks. But I will send out a flyer. All council members are welcome. And Kim has been doing a great job of getting that message out to the staff as well. That's all I've got.
Councilperson Maples. Sorry, I have as well. Nothing? Councilperson Hawkins.
I don't have anything, thanks.
Councilperson Owen.
Okay.
Councilperson Ellis.
No.
Councilperson Samuel.
Yes, I've communicated with our animal shelter director, Sarah, and she has some suggestions or recommendations on changing up the ordinance that deals with her. I'm going to communicate with some of the council. If there's interest in opening that up, I will. If there's not interest, I won't. So just a heads up, and that's all.
Okay. Oh, hey, Heather, the council or the clerk hasn't received our budget worksheets. Have they gone out yet? Okay, I just want to make sure I didn't miss something. And I do need to, you think you all read the emails from Chief Hedrick on his OT, and then also the request for the workshop. I told him for us to start the discussions on the new firefighters, and I told him, I said, we needed to get through the pay grades and the stuff that we discussed in our executive session earlier, and now he would request that we'd have a workshop in August. So we need to schedule that workshop. We can schedule either before our first meeting in August or a second. Chief Hedrick wants to present on the new firefighters, and I think he has some overtime issues he wants to discuss with us. So do you, before our first meeting in August or our second meeting in August, what works best for everyone?
Second would work best for me.
The second, which is the 20th? I have no idea how much time he would be.
And you may want to, something might change.
So he may, was this past week? It was Friday. We may not need it? Oh, well,
You have all the...
then you know what,
firefighter
since,
issues settled?
okay,
Oh, you ain't got...
okay. Well then, since mostly it's not going to be till August 20th anyhow, I'll just hold off on scheduling anything until I talked to him on Friday and he requested it, so good deal. With that, I'll have a motion to adjourn. So moved. Meeting adjourned.